forgot my plug in here, so I gotta. I love the moat box here too. Oh, great. Good now? Okay. Zach, you good? Okay. By the way, I think for those who trickled in a little late, for Q&A this time, she's going to actually call on people. So when we begin, you should have a question ready to raise your hand.
Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. So 3 weeks ago, I received the final report and recommendations from the DOGE task force. And after taking some time to review them, I want to share some initial thoughts as we continue our work to make government more effective, efficient, and sustainable at every single level. When you consider the amount of state and federal funding that supports our state government, Iowa is about a $20 billion enterprise with 18,000 employees, critical infrastructure and operations, and a wide-reaching scope of responsibility. And taxpayers, quite frankly, expect it to run like a business, and it should. And that's why over the last 5 years, we've intentionally focused on making the state more nimble, competitive, and accountable, not only for the people it serves, but also for those it employs. In 2020, I launched the Governor's Economic Recovery Advisory Board to accelerate Iowa's pandemic recovery, which was named the fastest in the nation and was a catalyst for the next generation of prosperity and transformation in our state. In 2021, I stood up the Governor's Child Care Task Force to address child care shortages and workforce barriers for parents and employees across the state. Its recommendations led to innovative programs that received national recognition, created 27,000 new child care slots, and led to a first-in-the-nation website that allows parents to see in near real time where child care exists along their route to and from work. In 2022, I undertook what no governor had for 40 years, and that was a comprehensive review of state government operations. The pandemic had revealed many inefficiencies that had gone unchecked for far too long. For example, we had 136 professional licensing functions that were spread across 11 different agencies. Our administrative code had ballooned to more than 20,000 pages with 190,000 restrictive terms. And as you recall, we even had a cow-calf operation, which operated at a loss, of course. So in 2023, I introduced and signed into law a 1,300-page bill to better align the state's operations. We cut 21 agencies from my cabinet, centralizing services and agencies with the experience and expertise to best manage them, and today nearly all licensing functions are in one department. We've saved taxpayers over $250 million in 18 months, and that was more than originally was projected for the first 4 years. I also signed an executive order calling for a comprehensive red tape review and a moratorium on all new regulations. And since then, I am proud to say that we have removed over 4,000 burdensome regulations from the books. In 2024, I worked with the legislature to streamline our system of boards and commissions, together eliminating 83 unnecessary and outdated boards. We also, due to alignment, we were able to merge all IT personnel and services across state government into a new centralized IT division within the Department of Management. And one of the many results in just that first year alone was consolidating 9 separate ticketing systems into one, where we saw cybersecurity vulnerability scores improve, and as well as $23 million in annual cost savings were identified. You know, alignment has continued to give us a clear line of sight into all areas of state government, and it reinforced the importance of continuously evaluating and improving our operations. And that is why the Iowa DOGE Task Force was the logical next step. On February 10th, 2025, I signed Executive Order 12, establishing a task force made up of leaders from the private sector businesses, local governments, and education to assess how we can improve workforce programs, leverage emerging technologies, maximize taxpayer investment, and ultimately take alignment to the next level. I asked them to be bold. I asked them to identify where state and local government aligns and where industry standards were, or where outliers exist. The level of detail in their final report, I think, shows the extent to which they took their responsibilities to heart, even when some topics sparked public debate. And on that note, I want to make something very clear before moving on this morning. IPERS isn't going anywhere. There's been a lot of public speculation, not to mention misinformation, about the potential changes to benefits that state employees, law enforcement officers, teachers, and others rely on. And you can rest assured that IPERS will be there for your retirement just as you've planned and we've promised. And that, by the way, was the intent of the task force from the very beginning. I want to take this moment to thank the task force members for contributing their time and expertise, especially Chair Emily Schmidt, who's here with me today. I want to thank the work group chairs, Reynolds Kramer, Kathy Kay, and Terry Lutz, and Representative Wills and Senator Dawson for their participation in the task force as well. In just 180 days, the task force engaged with several state agencies, convened stakeholder focus groups, received input from more than 5,000 Iowans representing all 99 counties, and produced a comprehensive report filled with concrete, actionable recommendations. In my initial review of the report, I can say that I'm very impressed and grateful for the group's work, but I'm not at all surprised by the quality under Emily's leadership. So Emily is a third-generation executive at her family-owned and operated company, Sukup Manufacturing. She's a previous member of the Economic Recovery Advisory Board, and she was actually the chair of the Child Care Task Force. Her contributions over the last 5 years have made a tremendous difference in our state, and it's why I ask her once more to lead such an effort. So thank you for joining me today, Emily, for again saying yes to serving Iowans and helping us ensure that our state is on the best path forward. And now I'd like to invite you to say a few words about the work of the task force.
Thank you so much, Governor. It has been an honor to lead this effort for you, and personally rewarding to hear that, and you almost brought me to tears about the five years working on all these things. The 14 task force members dedicated so much time, knowledge, and research for all of this report and detail that you mentioned. Our report reflects building on the good work of your administration, and you tasked this group, as you said, to think how can government operate to bring out efficiencies like we see in the private sector. And we focused on delivering services in the most effective way. I've seen firsthand, as you mentioned, just how this process can bring solutions and really problem solve to improve the state. From your Economic Recovery Advisory Board, from the Child Care Task Force, we, along with you, implemented these programs that are supporting working families, reducing administration burdens for daycare providers, as well as helping parents find care, as well as providing success stories, which I credit you for that Child Care Task Force video. It was broken down to 3 parts, and it was focusing on return on investment, shared services for centralization for efficiencies, and leveraging technology and workforce. So you knew it even back then. That's where we need to focus. And for this task force, you challenged us not to be satisfied with status quo, to do bold recommendations, and we made sure to engage the public by soliciting over 5,000 recommendations and comments through a portal. And more importantly, we heard feedback after each meeting. Yes, we heard all of that feedback, each public meeting that continued to inform and also shape our recommendations and our thinking. And that's what it should look like. We should be not just sitting at the table, but also sitting side by side listening, having the discourse, having the discussion on something that's so big that it is complex as a state government. In addition to the expertise of our committee, we reached out to stakeholder groups with deep knowledge and lived experience in these areas. Community college presidents, executives from major Iowa companies, and all agency directors. That all led to the 45 recommendations. And I'd be remiss to not include that we engaged the Iowa State Association of Counties, and we had multiple conversations along the way, because both of us have intent and purpose to make sure that we are delivering to Iowans in the most effective way possible and where those dollars have impact. Now, these recommendations reflect our overall focus to further optimize the use of taxpayer dollars. And we really focused on the process, the impact, and the effectiveness, because inherently that drives efficiencies. And it drives efficiencies across the life cycle of the whole delivery of public services. And each group represented the most important topics to our state's success, such as ensuring taxpayer value for their investment, leveraging technology to improve operations like we do at business every single day, and addressing critical gaps in evolving workforce, training skills, and numbers. By creating a government ecosystem that reduces administration burdens, increases collaboration, allows every Iowan to be better served, and state outcomes that can evolve and adapt. These factors not only contribute to effective government, but also overall economic development, community vibrancy, and business growth for our state. This ecosystem of collaboration and evolutionary processes and nimbleness are key to the maintaining of these sustainable successes. In successful businesses, we do not keep blinders on, and we operate not in a pull-me, push-you manner between our departments. We work together. One example to highlight is how we can encourage the Iowa Workforce Development, Iowa Economic Development Authority, and Department of Education to really see themselves as an ecosystem, filling in the gaps, but also helping each other be successful. Iowa Economic Development Authority focuses on supporting Iowa businesses and strategically growing those opportunities. The Iowa Workforce Development focuses on equipping Iowans for the workforce, and Department of Education is there to educate our future generations. Whether it's a joint meeting, co-location, recurring report outs, we encourage more touch points like that with a common vision that achieves efficiency inherently. So, when you read the report, and I say when you read the report, because everyone in this room, I hope you do read the whole report. I hope it is coffee stained. I hope the pages get bent and notes on it, because that's what we need. And I know, Governor, you do that, and you carry out so much of all, if not all, the recommendations from other task forces. So do not look at each of these as a vacuum. I encourage elected officials to really read the report in the mindset of the task force that was given by the governor. It was applying business-minded efficiencies to the government and how that would look. Now, this is different way of looking and thinking for current government, but now is the time, and supporting large strides like you have done in the past five years and even beyond, This is the time to do it. And we can modernize the deployment of government services by optimizing every single dollar. More than ever, I see the opportunity to us to even better the state. And reflecting when I was preparing for this press conference, I thought about the first press conference, which I think Dave asked, well, why would you want to do this? And I said, that's a great question. I ask myself every day for 180 days too, I think. But it just put together the passion of impactful work. And what you led with your leadership, what the committee members did day in, day out, weekly meetings, research on top of it, reporting out ideas, gathering, answering questions from the public. It really aligned the opportunity to put my passion for opportunities for improvement connected with the purpose of paying your civic rent. A mentor of mine always said that we have a duty to God, we have a duty to each other, we have a duty to be engaged civically, and I am honored to give this report to you. And I really look forward to everybody reading it, coffee stained, et cetera, because there's some amazing recommendations in there that can really drive efficiencies and saving a lot of money. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Emily, and thank you for always being a willing partner. Thank you for taking on another 180 days, for saying yes, and really providing, like I indicated, a really well-done report and recommendations, and I really appreciate that more than I can say, so thank you. So over the next few months, my office and respective cabinet members will review the DOGE recommendations in detail for potential implementation. Our goal will be to build on the success of alignment, leverage ongoing progress across agencies, and identify new areas for further improvement. With respect to workforce programs, our state is already making tremendous strides. We've turned our unemployment system into a reemployment system. We've increased participation in high school work-based learning by 76%. That's a phenomenal statistic. We've also been recognized by the U.S. Department of Labor as a state apprenticeship agency, and the significance of that is it gives us more authority to oversee and expand registered programs that really are applicable in our state. But the fact of the matter is that workforce shortages, especially in certain high-demand industries, it continues to be an issue. Despite a $400 million annual investment in workforce programs, employers report operational inefficiencies within certain programs, including outdated funding requirements. And that's why one idea kind of really resonated with me among the workforce recommendations, and that's giving employers a seat at the table to routinely review the workforce programs, ensuring that they're easy to access, that they are effective, and most importantly, that we have some metrics and they're delivering the intended results of the program that was originally stood up. I think it's also important when you look at how fluid the workforce is today that we don't have programs that have been in existence for 40 years. We need to be more nimble. We need to be more adaptive. We need to think about AI and technology and really how that applies to training the workforce to make sure that we're giving them the skills to advance in their career, to have a great great quality of life as a result. And so I think I just went off and said that already. So now, but now's the time for the state, as Emily said, to really reimagine its role of providing workforce programs, kind of moving more to a co-investor in workforce development and more of an enabler of employer-led workforce innovation. So this is a direction that I'm excited to explore further in the coming months. So, and also when it comes to leveraging technology, as I said, AI is not only the leading trend, it's the path forward. And again, the state is already using AI and predictive analytics to proactively identify program improvements. For example, the Department of Transportation and the Department of Public Safety have been using predictive analytics to forecast traffic patterns and identify roadways with higher accident potential, enabling authorities to take proactive measures and prevent crashes before they happen. These tools are also informing road design and infrastructure improvements to further prioritize safety. And AI's potential for improving efficiency inside state government operations is equally compelling. Across state agencies, too many processes are outdated, manual, repetitive and prone to error, but AI is changing that. By automating tasks like form recognition, document classification, and workflow routing, we can streamline basic operations, increase service quality, and allow employees to focus on higher value work. And these are the type of outcomes that we should aim for across every level of government. Again, we've made great strides to do that at the state level, and similar opportunities exist at the local level. As the DOGE report points out, Iowa's local government structure has remained largely unchanged since the 19th century. But some communities across the state have taken the initiative to adapt and change for the better. In fact, thousands of memos of understanding have been signed among governmental entities, allowing them to share resources and provide joint services. The report highlights a regional partnership in Scott County that is saving local governments millions. Thanks to a unified agreement, the Waste Commission of Scott County manages waste services at no direct cost to the county or its 17 member communities. Without this collaboration, individual cities would pay an estimated $16 million annually, and the partnership goes beyond cost savings. Cities like Davenport and Bettendorf have streamlined operations by jointly adopting the same garbage trucks, containers, and GIS-enabled routing tools. And these shared investments have reduced staffing needs, improved route tracking, and created a more consistent experience for residents across city lines. County attorneys across multiple counties have partnered to develop and share a case management program that's more uniformly compatible, better able to integrate with other local and state criminal justice agencies, and more cost-effective for all. In other examples, cities have signed agreements with respective counties to have the sheriff's office provide law enforcement services, and counties have signed agreements to share a county engineer to offset the cost and specialized requirements of the position. These solutions like these are common sense and things we need to continue to look at. And it's why the DOGE report recommends encouraging locally driven shared service models to remove unnecessary duplication and reduce costs while also maintaining local autonomy and unlocking economies of scale that Emily kind of hit on. The savings that result from these types of efforts may help us solve another issue that we're working on for Iowans, and that's reducing local property taxes. Iowa's property tax system is complicated and interconnected, and reforming it is, while it's not an easy proposition. If it was, it would have been done already. So at the end of the day, the only way I think that we can really reduce the property tax burden is to maybe find new ways, maybe find better and more efficient ways for government at all levels to deliver services to our citizens. And that's a conversation that I'm having with Iowans now. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been holding roundtables with legislators, local government officials, community leaders, superintendents, business owners, healthcare executives, farmers, and other property taxpayers. Their voices are important to inform legislation because it truly is going to take all of us to get this done, and I do believe it is the expectation of Iowans that we get something done with property tax reform this year. So in closing, I want to again thank Emily and the entire DOGE task force for its work. Iowans can read the full DOGE report online. It's available on my website at gov.dot Iowa, spelled out .gov. And with that, we'll open for questions on this topic. Okay.
During the DOGE committee public meetings, there was a discussion about education.
Yep.
Merit pay, pay for performance. How is that manifested in the final document, and do you plan to recommend that to the state?
Well, so we're kind of doing that right now, and we talked about it a little bit when Mackenzie did her overview on education. It's the TAL grant, which stands for Teachers Accelerating Learning, and that really incentivizes teachers that have gone above and beyond. It's based on growth, so it's based on where a child starts at the beginning of the year and where they're at the end of the year. And, you know, with a lot of the things that we talked about at the Department of Education press conference, the reforms that they put in place, we are starting to see some really significant growth for our kids. And, you know, we should never be afraid of rewarding excellence, and that's what we would do. We would, you know, not only, you know, the teachers would never see a decline in their salary. That's not what this is about. In fact, I'm proud to say it was myself and the Republican-led legislature that passed the largest salary increase for teachers in the history of this state. And we actually have a starting salary of $50,000 and 12 years experience. The floor is $62,000. So that in itself really, I think, is a strong statement that we want the best and brightest going into education. And then Mackenzie is working on standards. She is working on professional development. She is working on accountability. We did the literacy program, science of reading, and we're seeing phenomenal increases in scores because of the investment that we've made in our teachers. And this just takes the next step. It says, again, we want to reward them for really making a difference in this children's future. And it's a way to showcase what they're doing and encourage other colleagues to take a look at maybe doing the same thing. So you know, that's been a recommendation. We're kind of doing it. They supported that, so I'll read through what, you know, they're very detailed and how they are laying out how we can put some of their recommendations in practice. So I'll take a look at that and see kind of if it mimics what we've done with the grant program, or if there's some other tweaks that we can make or add to it. But that's like we'll do with all of the recommendations. We'll take them. My team will look through them in more detail, and then each of the cabinet members that it would, you know, that it would identify that needed to maybe take a look at some of these things, we'll have them go through it as well.
What do you think of the recommendation in the report to study public employee benefits and compensation? And is that something that you could order done yourself, or is that not the list?
Well, actually, it's already being done. I mean, there's already a group that I think is supposed to be a legislative group committee that's supposed to meet every other year to address just that, all benefits, IPERS. So it's really in place already. So we can take that recommendation, then I'll probably just share it with whoever is on that committee. I don't know if they've met. I don't know if they do it every other year like they are supposed to, but that's a question I would ask for them. I think it's already in place, and this would just be a recommendation for them to do what they're tasked with doing through that committee. Yep.
You mentioned creating a culture of continuous improvement.
Yep. Yes.
And so is Iowa DOGE task force done? Is this going to be an ongoing effort?
Well, you know, it's like realignment 4.0 is really where it's at, and that's kind of why I went through everything that we've worked on at the beginning of the remarks. I know that was kind of lengthy, but I think it really underscores, honestly, what we've been doing over the last 5 years. And there's not another state in the country that has done anything close to what we have done over the last 5 years. And I have always believed that it is important that we never settle, that we continue to look for ways to be more effective, more efficient, and accountable to the taxpayers of Iowa. It makes us better, and it's what business does every single day. If they had not looked at their operations for 40 years, there would not be a business today that would still be in business. That's just crazy. And government should be no different. I mean, especially when you look at the national level, we're what, $37 trillion in debt and counting? Maybe it's 38 right now. I don't know. With the efficiencies that I've been able to see just at the state level, $250 million in savings in 18 months, and I can tell you that is just scratching the surface. And as I also indicated, it has given us a great line of sight into each one of these agencies, and so we're able to actually continue to look for ways to be better and what that next improvement looks like. And you're going to see, I'm going to highlight some of those in the condition of the state. So we're working on that right now. But these are areas that I think there's a lot of opportunity. So I like the three kind of areas that they focused on, that we can take what we've done at the state and hopefully like encourage local government to have that same mindset and kind of take a look at what we've done and implement that at the local level. And they are, to some degree. That's why I talked about the shared services that they're already doing. There's thousands of MOUs that already exist. The roundtables have been great because it gives us a chance to talk about additional ways that we can think differently on how we're delivering services to Iowans. And it's been an opportunity for some of our smaller counties to say, for example, I'm already sharing with my county, with the hospital, to provide health services. So the county is partnering with the local hospital, which, you know, that's a win-win for both, for them to provide the services. They're talking about sharing with other counties for services, for EMS, for fire departments, for waste and water treatment facilities. You know, we need to think differently on how we can work together to stand up some of those programs, even within a county. So it's county to county, but even within a county, if you're a small county, are there ways to just do kind of a operations and finance instead of having a county, a city, a school? Are there ways that we can think differently and save some of those administrative costs and be able to provide the services maybe better, and take a look at how we can maybe bring property taxes down in the meantime. So it's all a part of that as we're looking to go through these opportunities. Dave?
While you share the name DOGE with the federal effort, you have structured this in a far different way than the feds did theirs, right? Can you, I'm going to try to sneak in a two-parter, can you explain sort of why you did, especially as we have Emily standing right next to you, can you explain why you structured it in sort of a task force way, final report, and then can you walk people through what happens next? We haven't read the report yet, but is there stuff that you as governor will do on your own and then pitch a bunch of stuff to the legislature, or what is that?
Yeah, well, so it's probably a combination of all of the above. And one of the reasons I did it the way that I did it is because it's been a very successful process for me. I did it with the children's mental health system, so it started with that. They've been talking about a children's mental health system for 20 years, and nobody had done anything with it. So I stood up a task force. I brought all stakeholders together. I had them really develop a system, what the requirements would be, what the metrics would be, and what that would look like, tying it to the adult behavioral health system that we had in place. Then they made their recommendations to me, and then I put a bill together with the recommendations. I put it in bill form, and then I submitted it to the legislature because I felt like that way I had stakeholders at the table to design it. I put it in a bill format, and then I put it to the legislature so Iowans in general could have the opportunity to weigh in on what the recommendations were. And, that bill passed unanimously. Every Democrat and Republican voted for that bill. And so that process has worked well for me, and I kind of followed that with each task force. And she has a record of delivering. So, get the right people at the table and then take the recommendations. If there's things that we think we can do or that might be applicable, then you put them in bill form and take them to the legislature. If they want to pick up some of those things, they certainly can do that too. So it'll probably be a combination. We'll make sure that they have a copy of the report as well. But like I said, it's been really successful. Realignment, we did kind of the same thing. We brought in a bunch of entities, the Child Care Task Force, the Economic Recovery Task Force that we put together. I think we actually did almost every single recommendation. Not always the case, but it just really aligned well with what we needed to do coming out of a significant pandemic. Okay, thank you.
More on topic?
Okay.
You've talked about providing services more efficiently. There's a lot of concern about what's going on with the state historical archive in Iowa City. There's a lawsuit now. Records, documents, and collections have been removed. Can you tell us where are those things being stored? Have they been inventoried? Can you promise the people of Iowa that none of those collections will be discarded or destroyed?
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing lawsuit, so I'm going to have to refrain from making comments on that particular case. But those items will be protected. Any questions off topic? Or on topic? Okay.
You mentioned the shared service agreements kind of being key to.
I'm sorry, the what?
The shared service
Yeah.
agreements being key to sustaining property tax cuts and cutting local spending, but how do you plan to actually work with local governments to make sure they don't
Yeah.
put those recommendations on the shelf?
Yeah, well, so what I'm saying, though, is it's going to take all of us coming together. We have to think differently about how we deliver services, just like we've done at the state level. They need to that they're doing it, but we need to take that, make sure that they know what some of the opportunities are. But that's one of the reasons we're doing the roundtables. They're sitting at the table, having that conversation with us. but we just have to be better at what we're doing. We can't sustain the level of government that we have, and especially with technology and the resources that we have today. You know, we have to take a look at that. I mean, I was a county treasurer back in 1995. I went paperless back in 1995. I worked with county treasurers all across the state to stand up a website because as a small county, I didn't have the resources to provide my citizens the opportunity to go online and make payments or to go online and do partial payments. And I didn't think that was fair, you know, to my citizens that I represented. So I worked with a group of treasurers from across the state. We worked with a company, we worked with the bank, and we stood up a website that county treasurers could go on and have their own county web presence, which of course we didn't have one because we couldn't afford anything like that in Clark County. And it enabled my citizens to have that same opportunity to go online and pay property taxes. So that was back in 2000. Today you can renew your license online, you can pay your property taxes, you can even do your driver's license. So it's those kind of things. I cross-trained everybody in my office. I extended hours. We did partial payments. I allowed credit card payments. You know, you just have to be looking at things like that all the time so that you can, first of all, provide those kind of services to the people that you serve, but so you can do it more efficiently. I couldn't continue to tax Clark County residents to bring them efficiencies. There was actually a different way that I could do it, and I got the same results, and it didn't cost them anything.
So, piggybacking from that, you're talking about encouraging local governments to sign MOUs.
Yeah.
In the school realm, there are actually incentives for small school districts to share a superintendent or social worker. Is there room for the state to provide incentives or just to encourage?
We can look at both, but the incentives have to be time certain. That is a problem because sometimes we incentivize and they're supposed to recognize some savings from collaborating and working together and sharing those services, and then I just backfill it with an incentive forever. And so that kind of defeats the purpose. So I do believe there's a role for that, Kay. It just should be like a couple years, maybe 3 years for them to adjust and get everything settled and really operational, and then that needs to go away. Otherwise, we've really not recognized the benefits and the savings that we potentially should and could that could continue to bring down, you know, that property tax levy askings. So it's both. You know, I want to give them the opportunity to think differently, to look for ways to do that, and they have. I mean, they've really. I've only done like 3 right now, but it's been a really good conversation, a good give and take, moving forward. So they're hearing the same thing. Every legislator is hearing that you're pricing me out of my home. I can't continue to pay this level of property taxes, you know. So, and we're not competitive when it comes to that either. So the expectation is that we do something.
Yes, Emily, before you change.
Yeah.
I should ask you if you regret doing this. Can you, leading this task force, can you talk about the difference of being a company executive and knowing how that system works, and then kind of looking at this ginormous, I think the Gov said it's like a $20 billion sort of enterprise. And they have different purposes, right? So how do you take kind of a business view at this when government services, you know, those are things people rely on in sort of a different way than maybe a company does. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I had a unique set of skills of background that through the governor's offering of being on the Economic Recovery Advisory Board, I was the co-chair for the government working group. I think I was the only one who said, yeah, I'll take the government one. So I was able to see the actual spending of government. I've talked to so many elected leaders, even to throughout this task force, that hadn't seen the cost of government report. And these are people who are voting on spending that money. So even being on that board back in 2020, I saw the cost of government back then, and we went through all the maps. And what we see in business is so many inefficiencies with so many different maps, different delivery methods. So although it may not, it is a completely different type of entity, the common goal of saving money and using every dollar efficiently translates to both sides. Now, the report put together 45 different recommendations, and it is up to the governor to say, she has led the way with some of the, the teacher grants that she had talked about, and some other items that are in place, but this just emboldens some of those recommendations as well. So I think it's up to the elected officials and the governor to say, hey, we're supporting this. And yes, there are some differences between government and business, but the ask was, if you were to run government as a business, what would it look like? So that's what we took we put those glasses on and delivered that report. And I can say that so much time was spent on that. But we engaged all branches. Chief Justice Christensen engaged. We had Senator Isaiah Knox work with our members, Representative Wills, and et cetera. So we had every branch engaged. So that tells you that they want something that is the private side's efficiencies, and that's for leadership that has really paved the way. But Child Care Task Force, Economic Recovery Board, I did have some unique background to be able to come into this than others would, but yeah, it's efficiency translates on both sides. It's just we got to get government up to speed on the efficiency timeline more than then government keeps up, or lacks to keep up.
Well, and to your point, I think, it really makes us better at what we're doing. And right now, I mean, it's so fragmented, nobody has any idea of the cost. And I think when you start to drill down to Emily's point and see the cost and the return on investment for the inefficiencies that we have in place, we can be better. And it's just like when we did the behavioral health redesign. When they're taking 15, 20% admin cost out of every fragmented program, even if they're taking 8%, that's money that could go into the classroom, into services, into behavioral health, on the ground. I mean, but it's just up here, people talking about it, and it's just that's inefficient. It's not good, and so it's really a way for us to potentially save taxpayers some dollars, but also maybe to infuse some of that money in a more efficient way that we can start to really see some return on those investments in a better way and be able to track it. The number of programs that have no metrics tied to them, I was appalled. I mean, and so that we have to be better. That's ridiculous. So, when you're spending $400 million annually into workforce programs and we still have an issue, something's not right. So we got to be better. We got to get better, and there should be an expectation that I'm going to put this money to this program. This is the metric, the outcome that we expect, and if that doesn't happen, then it needs to go away. And I think maybe by having business leaders at that table reviewing these programs will be very helpful, because it's an outside entity and they're the ones that are using them, so they should help us say, is this working or is this not working?
Okay, we'll allow some time for a few off-topic questions, if that's okay, Governor?
Yeah. Go ahead. I appreciate your interest in this, so we'll stick on this. It's probably...
There's a lot of great recommendations on technology.
Yeah.
Some parts of Iowa may not have super strong broadband right now, so is there how will that be addressed?
Well, thankfully, we've invested, by the end of 2026, it'll be $1 billion into broadband. And my goal with that was to connect rural Iowa. I can tell you, as I travel the state and as I have over the last 16 years, I can tell you every dead spot in the state of Iowa where I'm on the phone talking to somebody only to have to call them back 4 times and just finally have to give up until I hit, a larger city where I can say, I'm sorry. You'd think the governor would do something about this, connectivity. So it did. So the legislature, we invested just from a state investment over $100 million, and then we were able to use a lot of the ARPA dollars through COVID to really connect, because online services telehealth was really important during COVID, and we needed better connectivity. We had a head start on a lot of the other states, so we were able to get those dollars in the ground really fast because we'd already started some programs and we'd been working on it, so it allowed us to scale up pretty quickly. But it'll be about $1 billion at the end of 2026 that we've invested in broadband. It's important. It's important for our farmers. The technology that they can tap into in those cabs is crazy. So we need to take advantage of those. And so we'll be at a pretty good place to do that. And we got ahead of, the supply chain started to be an issue, but because we were ahead of that also, we had those ordered, and that really benefited us. Did you have a question? Yeah.
How long can the state sustain good benefits, and if this is used, and is there anything the state can do about
well, first of all, if the Democrats would pass a clean CR, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. They need to come to the table and they need to pass a clean continuing resolution, a CR. I think when under President Biden, this number might be off, but I think 13 different times Republicans voted for a clean CR to move the government forward, to continue to have the conversations. So the games that they're playing at the expense of Iowans and families, of low-income Iowans that need those resources, are sad. It's a sad scenario. They have nothing else. They need to come to the table and they need to get this passed.
Backing off of the federal shutdown, some union leaders have asked, getting the news of the furloughs
Yeah.
yesterday from the workforce development, some union leaders have asked the state to access emergency aid in order to pay those salaries for federally staffed folks. I guess just what your thoughts on that.
Well, so I think we have about 67 staff that have been furloughed through Iowa Workforce Development. They typically deal with the Unemployment Insurance Labor Market Information Division. Most, some have completely been furloughed, so they're not working, but some are working 2 days a week. So, we don't expect any impact in the processing. We don't expect any impact on the claims or issuing of payments. Director Townsend has said she doesn't see that being impacted at all, or their ability to respond to their customers. And we'll just have to see what happens afterwards. Sometimes they do back pay, sometimes they don't. If they're furloughed and not working, I don't know. We'll have to see what they end up doing at the federal level. But again, if they would pass a clean CR, then they could sit down at the table and they could start to work on the different appropriations and get the government funded.
You mentioned President Susan at Workforce Development. What's the total number of state employees who are furloughed or impacted who receive federal full funding for partial funding?
It's about 800, is that right? Okay. Between the two, it's about 700 to 800, right? 700 National Guard, and then close to that with the other agencies. So again, there's a way that we could, stop that. And we have 50 Republicans that have, well, not 50, but we have 53, I think, in the House, and almost all of them have passed it. It takes 60 votes to get it done. So, vote for a clean CR and start having those conversations. Dave?
During your career, you've been recruited to run for Congress. I'm curious how you view the way you do a budget here versus the way Congress most times does not really do a budget, and the fact that we produce CRs like a half dozen times, doesn't that just demonstrate how messed up?
Yeah, but it's been happening for a long time. So it needs to stop. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're actually trying to vote on each appropriation, each agency, instead of bringing it all together and doing a lump vote. They need to get back to that so that they can give Americans a chance to weigh in on it, and we're actually talking about each agency. That's why, I'm staying in Iowa, and I chose to run as governor instead of go out. Thank goodness we have people that are willing to go out there and serve. I appreciate it. I respect them a lot. It's just a lot of things are out of your control out there, but they actually are trying to do that, and that's why they're saying if you could just come together like the 13 times that we did under President Biden's administration, so that we could continue those conversations and really put a budget together instead of kicking it down the road. I think the country as a whole would be better, and that's actually what they're trying to do. Thank you, everyone.